I was just talking to Corey, look how heavy it is. Yes. We missed you yesterday. There was two wet. Shall I ring a bell? Good morning. My name is Kathy Crane. I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. This chilly, beautiful morning in our neighborhood. We are happy to see the faces of all of our friends here. Some friends for a long time, some friends that are new. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson is not merely a tolerant community, but we strive to be a truly welcoming congregation. We receive here gladly all kinds of people, regardless of racial or ethnic background, age, economic status, political affiliation, gender expression, or sexual orientation. We hope that our diversity is what unites us. We hope that our diversity is what makes us wiser and stronger. If you would like more information about UUFC, we have a really good website, uufc.org, and we have welcome table volunteers that you could check with after the service. There are so many spiritual paths in this world, and here you will find more than one within this congregation. You will not be judged for your beliefs. In fact, here your choices are respected and allowed to flourish. I hope that today's service will fill a place inside of you that might feel hungry for something deeper. Please accept our invitation to return. Every Sunday is actually quite different. You have the order of service. On the back of the order of service are the announcements. Please take a look at them. My goodness, it's been quite a weekend at our fellowship. We started Friday night with a social justice movie where we watched The Help. And I was so enchanted with the costuming of the women in that movie, The Help, that I decided to wear my grandmother's dress today. And so thank you for the people that told me that you like my dress. It was my grandmother's dress. Yesterday, as a part of this community, we welcomed John and Sarah, our newly married UUFC members, back in nature with love, and that was just so wonderful. And today that continues with being together this morning, and we're having a cottage meeting to talk about welcoming a settled minister. That will be after the service today and again on Wednesday at 2. So we hope that you can come to either of those, both if you want. And we greatly appreciate our search committee for putting these together for us. There's a social action meeting after the service today. There's also the work party after the service today. Oh, I heard somebody's exasperation. There's a lot going on. Next Sunday, please bring bread. Feel free to bring bread from your family or history that tells a story, and that will be shared in the coffee hour. And we also have our pledge drive going on, so thank you for turning in your pledge. As you prepare to greet one another for a minute or two, just stand up with your hymnal, and after we greet each other, we will be singing hymn 1018. Hello. Thank you, everybody. The opening words come from UU Minister Elizabeth Tarbox from Massachusetts. Ours is a story of faith and hope and love. It is our need for one another that binds us together, that brings us laughing and limping into relationships, that keeps us at it when we otherwise might despair at the fix we are in. It is the holy we need, the eternal beyond our comprehension. And the one place we can find it is here, working and worshiping together. And there is a transcendent value worthy of our loyalty, upon which we may set our hearts, and its divine manifestation is love. Come, let us gather. Let us worship.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Christina Branum-Martin, and I'm the interim minister here at the fellowship. It is so good to be with you today. I needed to preach and talk about kindness after, for me, it has been a hard time with elections, and today is Trans Day of Remembrance, and also Veterans Day, which makes me think of all the hardships of war. So I needed a random act of kindness. So if you did not get one envelope and 2 index cards, you'll need them later, and I'll explain what they're about. And a pen. Does everybody have something to write with later? Okay. So we are going to celebrate random acts of kindness today. So today, if you didn't know it already, is World Kindness Day. So there is the theme of the day. I'm going to light this chalice with the acknowledgement that kindness, with song, for me is a balm to my soul. May it be so for you. We share in the words of affirmation that are printed on your order of service. If you would join together with me. We gather together in the spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. And I do have a story with some pictures. We'll see on the screen in a minute. But I see a couple of people here who are younger, and I was wondering if you could come forward so that I could interview you and ask you one question. Would you come forward? There's some seats right here. You can sit there or you can come here. All right, there's 2 right here. Okay, so you heard that today is World Kindness Day. Now, I don't know who made this up or when, but when I heard it, I just said, I'll take it. So we're going to talk about ways that we are kind to each other, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I learned about kindness. And so when you think of kindness, what do you think of? What kind of actions do you think of in your life? Any thoughts? Your mind is churning, I can tell. Do you have an idea? Yeah. Okay, tell me.
Like food drives that schools make up, and toy drives, and all that stuff.
Yeah, food drives and toy drives, and in the holidays, a lot of times we collect things like jackets and blankets and mittens. Yeah. We actually have a mitten tree here, which we also put socks on, which is kind of funny, but a sock tree doesn't sound as exciting as a mitten tree. Do you have any thoughts?
Sometimes when I think of kindness, I think of like people being kind to one another and just helping each other when other people are kind of not so nice to each other, but the other person is still being kind.
That's a great example. I think of bullying when things are really, really bad, but we need kindness on a regular day too. And it sounds like you're talking about that that's a way we can treat each other, especially when somebody's having a hard time. So what do you think? What do you think of when you think of kindness?
I don't really think I thought of it. Well, I don't remember what I think I thought about earlier, but now I can just see the sign that's behind you.
You can see the sign that's behind me? Yes, it says Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
I think this one.
Oh, and this one. Oh, okay. A different sign. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. And that's a great little poster. So I learned about kindness from a show called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And I imagine, here's a picture of Mr. Rogers coming up in a second. I imagine for some of you, you might have watched the show as a child or had a child in your household where you watched Mr. Rogers. And that is just a kind face, I can tell you. When I see it, I still feel warm fuzzies. And I also imagine that you can remember all of the things that Mr. Rogers did. He would come into the house and he would take off his jacket and he would put on a sweater and he'd take off his work shoes and put on some tennis shoes and he'd relax in a living room with really weird curtains. Remember those weird curtains? But he would sing a song about a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm wondering if we could sing it. The lyrics are going to come up. Beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty wood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? Thank you for helping me out with that. It brings back good memories of childhood to hear that song. And I don't know of a better example of teaching kindness than Mr. Rogers. On his show, he talked about anger. He talked about sadness. He talked about things like when you feel bad because your fish died. He had a fish die, and he talked to children about death. He talked to children about divorce and different things that happen in the world. And he also just talked about regular things, regular questions that children have. And I don't know if you knew, but there were very few children's shows that talked about those kinds of things at that time. So it was a really revolutionary thing. Perhaps the main thing that drew me to Mr. Rogers was that every person he encountered, he would look them in the eye like I'm looking into your eyes now. He had a slow, deliberate way of doing his everyday activities, like putting on his shoes and his sweater. And he lovingly accepted the people that he had on the show in a way that I rarely see. And he said at the end of every episode, he would look right at the camera as if he were looking at you, and he would say with total sincerity, "You have made this day special by being just you. You are the only person like you in the whole world, and people like you just because you're you." I don't know who else says those things. Hopefully our parents, our grandparents, and our family. And our teachers sometimes are loving like that, but to have somebody on a consistent basis have that, for me, was really special. There's a picture up on the screen of Mr. Rogers in the pool with his feet in the wading pool. Mr. Rogers in his show addressed issues of the day with gentleness and compassion. And some of you may remember how Mr. Rogers set an example for children to discuss racism and about how to be a good neighbor. Have you ever heard of the word segregation? There was a time when schools and libraries and stores and restaurants and pools were segregated so that white people and people of color were not able to swim together or be in the library together or even go to school together. And that isn't the case anymore, thank goodness. But this was a time when segregation was a really big deal, and swimming together in the pool in most places in the United States had not started happening yet. So in this episode, Mr. Rogers and Officer Francois Clemens, who was on the show for 25 years, was invited to put his feet in the pool, and they had their feet together. And Francois Clemens explains it that Mr. Rogers was sitting in the yard with his feet in the wading pool, and then Mr. Clemens stopped by, and Mr. Rogers said, "Hello, Officer Clemens. I was just putting my feet in the water. Would you like to join me?" And he said, "I don't have a towel." Mr. Rogers said, "Well, you can share mine." And it was just as simple as that. Two people sitting with their feet in the pool. After Officer Clemens accepted the invitation, the resulting tableau stood in stark contrast to all the things that were happening on the news and that were on TV. There were even protesters at the show after this. Yeah. Mr. Clemens recalls that he felt really proud to be working on such a show and felt honored to be asked to be in this episode, and that he was really proud of Mr. Rogers for taking such a strong stand. One of the things that Francois Clemens, the person who plays the officer, also wanted to share is that when Mr. Rogers, who was a grown man, would say to him at the end of each show, "I love you," Mr. Clemens said, "My dad never said I loved you. My grandfather never said I loved you." And as a man myself, it took me years for me to be able to say, "I love you back." And the first time he did, he said he broke down in tears because he realized how much this person was important to him. And here's a cool, fun fact. Mr. Clemens, in real life, is a Unitarian Universalist who lives in New York. There's also another episode that was really cool. And if we can go to the next slide. This was a young boy named Jeff who was interviewed about his electric wheelchair. And this was basically the first episode where on any children's TV where somebody was interviewed who had a physical disability. And the cool thing is Jeff was invited to come on, and he talked about how he had been injured as a baby and had the inability to walk and use his hands without tools. And he told about his life. And he was about to go into surgery, major surgery on his back. And his parents said, "What do you want to do before surgery?" Now, you'd think you might say Disneyland or a vacation or something big. And he said, "I want to meet Mr. Rogers." And so that's how he came to be on the show. So we're going to finish out our discussion of kindness with a really short video of Jeff as a grown-up.
When I was 5 years old, I was in a surgery called spinal fusion. So my parents asked me what it was that I wanted to do for the surgery. They were expecting me to say, I want to go to the amusement park. My answer was, I want to be Mr. Rogers.
Would you show me how you make your chair go?
Okay, sure. We didn't do any rehearsal. He basically just told me, like, I asked
So before you go off to your group today, I want to let you know that we will be sending you something in the mail sometime in the next few weeks. It'll be a random act of kindness. So look for it, okay? All right.
I know a random act of kindness. Our fellowship is going to be hosting a potluck after Thanksgiving, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So look for information about that in the weekly. Thank you, Tom. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and hope, and thank you.
These are received with love and care and compassion and honor all of the gifts that come in many packages and sizes, from cans of tuna to pledge packets and to $1 and a quarter, as whatever you've got in your pocket. We receive these with gratitude.
Could I say something while we're doing the basket of food? When I turned in the last basket load of food to Clemson Community Care, you had 144 pounds of food, 144 pounds of food.
Wow.
That's a lot in a bag.
And I'm going to repeat that so that those who are at home can hear that too. That was, if I heard you right, it was 1,144 pounds?
144
Oh, okay.
pounds, 144 pounds.
144 pounds of food, which still is fantastic. That's a lot of food, and that's something to celebrate. Well, this one is a joy and a sorrow circled together. Elaine Frendahl says that Danny has been a wonderful addition to the choir. And she and her family are moving to New York for her husband's new job. We will miss you. Meg Williamson's mother had a surgery to fix the broken arm on Friday, and it was a long day, but she's home now and only needing ibuprofen for pain. That's fantastic. Carl Dieter has a joy. Joy in the pains and pleasures while kayaking 1,000 miles in 2022. Where are you? That's fantastic. And any additional miles are icing on the cake. What flavor? Chocolate? Vanilla? Carol Ward's sorrow is that the recent birthday for my deceased sister, Janice Ward, recently happened, and she died when she was a senior in high school. Okay. There is a concern. Cindy Burke recently returned from visiting her mother in San Diego. Her mother celebrated her 80th birthday, but unfortunately just got COVID. She is seeming to be on the road to recovery, and luckily Cindy tested negative with just a little cold. And this is from Heidi Campbell for Cindy Burke. May they both stay healthy in the long run. I want to acknowledge any visitors we have today. You are welcome to stand and say your name if you would like, and if you would like to share your name in the coffee hour instead, we respect that too. The last stone is for all that is yet to be shared. And now we will sing The Children on Their Way. I'm centering myself for a moment of prayer and meditation. I invite you now to take a breath and find yourself comfortable in your chair. Spirit of life and love, we give thanks this morning for the many joys shared among us, for the pleasure of being together in this sacred time and space. We give thanks for the opportunity to give and receive kindness in our lives. And on this day especially, we give thanks for everyone who volunteered to help make the elections safe, smooth and joyful and informed for voters. Whether you wrote postcards, did phone or text banking, knocked on people's doors, or served on election day as an election judge or monitor or defender, we give thanks for your service. We are grateful that Tuesday's elections drew out so many people to vote, and that the elections and their aftermath unfolded without violence or voter intimidation. We also remember today that 104 years ago, Friday, the armistice that ended World War I was signed, and millions of soldiers were transformed into veterans. This morning we lift up all veterans, all those through the generations who have served in the armed forces. We pray for any of you who also served in the armed forces, and if you did and you would like to rise, we would like to honor you. We pray for your family and friends, and all of the families and friends whose loved ones were sent forth into danger. You went into danger for us, and many of you who did go didn't come back the same. We also lift up the many women who have yet to be acknowledged as veterans, and the many LGBTQ veterans who could not be out during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the partners and families who didn't receive the support financially or emotionally during that time. To say thank you to our veterans, to those who are in the room and all of those around the country. Your sacrifice will never be enough. To say thank you is not enough. So we pray this morning for strength and commitment and healing. Strength to embrace all our veterans, commitment to care for each and every one of them in the fullness of who they are, and healing for our country and for the world. So that one day, nations won't need to send our children, our siblings and spouses and friends into danger to solve the complex problems of the world. May we each do our part for justice, for it is only when justice is present that peace is possible. Amen and blessed be. And Stephen is going to play today a song called Searching for a Soldier's Grave by Roy Acuff.
That's correct.
All right.
Wearing the old man's good conduct medal, and he earned it, and I'm going to wear it. And he was in the Pacific neighborhood, and I miss him every day.
Thank you, Steve. My father was a veteran, my brother too. This reading comes from another UU minister from Jackson, Ohio. His name is Don Rollins. His article is entitled Raising Steady Kids in Unsteady Times. It begins with a quote. This is a quote that starts his article. These are the kinds of conversations I have to have with my daughter on the way to school. Not, how was your day? Or what do you want to do on the weekend? Nope. I have to have ugly talks about racism and violent conservative men who plaster their vehicles with vulgar misogynistic stickers. That quote came from Walter Rhine, author, educator, parent. So Minister Rollins continues, studies differ about the short and long-term impacts of negative campaigns on children. It follows that it is left to parents and or other caregivers to help their kids process the overt and covert political vitriol all around them. This is no small task, not one that will go away anytime soon, but there's hope. An online tip sheet offers suggestions regarding ads in particular. Explain that ads are opinions, not facts. Does the ad say anything positive, or is it just an attack? Teach kids to notice the images, graphics, scenes, as though it were a short movie to be broken down. Explain their caregivers' opinions and values. Teach children to think critically and check the facts. Hope and all, this is gritty work. There is nothing glamorous about mentoring kids in the ways of such a complex system of government, let alone being upfront about people in this world who would trash the rules rather than either following them or at least questioning them in a grown-up way. So our hats should be off, our hands extended to caregivers trying to raise steady children in decidedly unsteady times.
We're going to sing a song called Adimus, and you might be thinking, well, what language is that? Maybe Latin, maybe Spanish. Don't think about it too hard because it's a made-up language. The composer, Carl Jenkins, a well-known choral composer, chose the words, made up all the words so they'd be beautiful to sing, but also because a made-up language excludes nobody and includes everybody.
Are you
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to talk about country western music. Oh my. So I'm going to talk about country western music. I like to listen to it in the car every now and then. Last Sunday, oh, it's just beautiful. Last Sunday afternoon was one of the times that I listened to country western music that does not affect me like this. So I was driving home from South Cove County Park after walking my dog there and turned on the radio to listen to the Walhalla radio station. Maybe some of you listened to that too. When the song ended, I heard a despicable ad, public service announcement, something, that talked about liberals' work toward anti-white racism antics. What? Which candidate is spouting this? Well, it was not a candidate's ad, and I was too upset to hear the name of the group sponsoring the hateful message. This, after all, is our community radio station. It's the one we listen to when we want to learn if school is canceled because of snow. Kids listen to it to find out the football game, not Clemson, but the high school football games, junior high schools too. It's a family-oriented radio station with minimal news and commentary. Children listen to this. I was listening to this. So I called the radio station manager the next morning. He's been there for years. Gary interviewed me years ago regarding school projects, but chances are slim he recognized my name. He talks to everybody in our area. I bet he's talked to you. He talks to everybody. He immediately knew the announcement I heard the afternoon before. He identified it as being sponsored by America First Legal. He shared that the law requires the radio station to accept sharing announcements like this if the organization pays for it. And he said he anticipated hearing from folks about this message of vitriol, but instead, I was the first one to call. The announcement has apparently been playing a few times a day for weeks. The radio station tried to reassure me that the announcement would cease once Tuesday's election happened. That was his kindness to me, and he was nice. I despise name calling. If you call me a name, I know you are angry, but I don't know why or how to help. Plus, once someone calls me names, I have to wade through my emotional reaction before I can try to understand their point of view again. It is counterproductive. It is vital that we do not self-destruct over political disagreements, no matter how viscerally we feel the attack. Belittling others is not how we build ourselves up. Ridicule can be poison. Most importantly, these are lessons our children need to learn. This is interrupted by a public service announcement. On the back of your announcements, you will see that Dell is offering to talk to us about talking to each other with reason and kindness. Back to the message. Try to elevate conversation and hopefully identify common ground. It's on that ground that solutions can be identified. We and our children are responsible for our own behavior, which includes reactions to other people's behavior. To help our children navigate meanness or meanness in general, let us keep ourselves in check. Think twice before spinning a conversation toward name-calling and contempt. Eleanor Roosevelt counseled that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. By not returning animosity, we can force someone to decide whether to continue their contemptuous display for the sake of a one-sided meltdown. What kind of a world do you want our children to grow up in? Let that question be our guide. Be kind out there.
Well, I am noting the time, and I'm kind of excited, not that I get out of giving my sermon, but that I get to do it in a couple of weeks. Because Mr. Rogers and his theology, some of you may not know that he was an ordained Presbyterian minister, has a lot going for it. And I would like to talk about it more. And so I'm going to do so in a couple of weeks. So now what I want to do, instead of making you listen to a sermon from me, is let's talk about those cards. You have 2 index cards and an envelope. I would like for you to put your name and address on the envelope so that you can receive something in the mail in the next few weeks. And then the index cards, if you would just put something, some kind note to someone. I'm thinking of putting something to the children, specifically about how they are the dreams come true of their ancestors. Or maybe it's, you are more beautiful than you know, or just something. Don't sign your name. This is a random act of kindness from you to another person here in this community. And you have 2 cards because about half of the membership is here today. And so we're going to send one to everyone. So I'll let you take some time to do that. And maybe that beautiful prelude that you played, could we do that again? Yes, can you clarify? Can you write something on the card to someone here that is going to bring a smile to their face?
And on the other side, put your name.
No, you have an envelope.
Yeah.
On your envelope, put your name and address so that I can put one of those cards randomly in it and mail it to you in the next few weeks.
But the card doesn't have a name either way.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So you don't sign it, and you don't say to whom. It's just a lovely note of some sweet sentiment. So I noticed that some people have 1 card, some people had 2. Don't worry about it. If we need extra cards, I will just write some one day while I sit in my desk. And what's important to know is that sometime in the next couple of weeks, you will go to the mailbox and one will arrive to you. And that will be fun. And what we'll do is when the service is over, I'll collect them as you come out. Okay? As we sing our closing hymn in just a moment, number 1031, I want to tell you about the song. We might not have sung it in a while, and you might not know that this is coming from the Buddhist tradition of seeking loving kindness for yourself, seeking loving kindness for another, and then seeking loving kindness for us collectively. So we'll sing all 3 verses.
Can I suggest that this side get up and faces them, and they get up and face us?
Yes, that'd be great. So stand up and face each other?
Yes, that's what I
Okay. Thank you so much for the suggestion to face each other. That really made it very poignant. Thank you. I'm going to close with these words from Mr. Rogers. In 1992, he spoke at Boston University and said these words during the commencement speech. He said to all the graduates that they apply this to all, in a baccalaureate sermon, Fred Rogers ended with these questions for the graduates. But they apply to all who face an unknown future, which includes us. Mr. Rogers said, "I wonder what will be in store for you and what you will make of it. Who will help you? What will you do about your hard times? How will you respond to your successes? And in other words, what kind of person will you be?" He reminded them that on the average, each of you, given this to college graduates, has about 20,000 days left to answer that question. And each of you will answer them in a unique way. Although our days are numbered and we might not have as many as 20,000, may we each honor that each of us answers those questions in our unique way. And all of us, as he said to the children at the end of the show, are lovable just the way you are. Our service now has ended, and now the real work of our faith begins. We go out into the world with a kind word, a thoughtful deed, and a heart filled with love. Go now in peace.
Christina, Fred Rogers was the most requested speaker for college graduations. He has such an impact on them. It's
Thank you.